Wow, is it really episode 35? I think so.
35. Oh my gosh. You know what I was
35.
thinking? I have not ticked off that many people that people keep coming back and listening. It's awesome.
And it's a miracle. It is absolutely a miracle. This is a blast each and every week. So let's back up a second. Welcome to episode 35 of the We All Serve podcast. I'm back with that handsome devil over there, Angel Torres. There we go. With that cool shadow box, just got to call it out each and every week. I love it. No, I mean, it's like you've cleared.
The one above it, Freedom Isn't Free. That was a fun one to win. And the golf event.
I love it. No, you shared the story. You know, it's just, I'm amazed at how many clearly, I don't know, you've clearly gotten you've managed to slip through the radar. You've gotten a lot of nice awards. I just wonder how you did that. But
I tied my shoes right 4 times in a row. I chewed gum and didn't fall and trip over my own feet. I think that was one of them. And Mom Pinatubo.
That's pretty much the only qualifications in the Navy. Okay. Good stuff. Well, today we've got a treat because, we talk a lot about, last week we had our first coastie. So this week we're getting a 2-in-1 deal. I just figured, you know what? It's the first day in March. We should really try to accomplish big things as we try to wrap up Q1 of 2021. So we got a Marine.
Guys and Marines like to do March. So
March. It's true. It's true. It's very true. Well, before we go any further, definitely if you are tuning in live on Facebook, YouTube, we appreciate you. And make sure you're clicking subscribe, but make sure you're also checking out our podcast and joining the many. We actually just passed well over, I think it's now we're at about 1,250 downloads of each of our episodes. So that's pretty awesome. Which, as I don't know if I mentioned this to you, according to the statistics that I saw, that puts us in the top 15 or 20% of podcasts worldwide.
I'm nervous to tell people that because I think that they're gonna think I'm full of crap, and I'm and I when you told me, I was like, what? And then you showed me the numbers, I was like, that's amazing! Oh my God, we have so many cool people that listen to us. It's so awesome.
We do. No, it's pretty awesome. So how's your week been?
It was tough, man. I got hit with kidney stones, and that sucks. I mean, for the week before, I had just problems where I felt like I had to go to the bathroom a lot, and then I got the kidney stones, and it was, I walk around like a little old lady, and no shame, just miserable, and they actually did end up doing surgery for it. So the after surgery, what I found out, I've had kidney stones before, I had them in Iraq, and that was not fun, but what if the aftercare for kidney stone surgery is the worst thing ever, because they put a stent inside you and you got foreign things, and I'm good now. Life is good. I'm happy.
For those of you just listening to the podcast, Angel is just giving a very graphic demonstration on the screen over here, and you are missing out if you are just listening to the audio. So make sure you check out the video too.
And share. And other people can share in the misery that is my biological misfortune.
Has Tina been taking good care of you?
She has. She had a bunch of food ordered before I got home from the hospital, and it was all ready to go, but I didn't want to eat it. But she's just too good to me. Too damn good to me.
It's true. You don't deserve it.
I don't.
You don't. Well, I am excited to bring in our guest. So let's jump right into it because I don't want to get too deep into your biological issues, as we said. So our friend Joe Conver has 8 years of military experience. First as a United States Marine in the United States Marine Corps as decorated Marine Corps sniper during Desert Storm, and then in the United States Army, where you earned the title of Airborne Ranger Pathfinder. Took his leadership skills to college, where he earned a BS in financial economics and accounting, and continued his leadership through hospitality. 20 plus years of honing his passion to make the lives of others better with restaurant, hotel, and country club management. But currently, he is over there rocking that very fancy, I think I saw his name tape over there, as the executive director of the Atria Senior Living at Cranberry Woods in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Absolutely. So tell me, when you transitioned from the Marine Corps into the Army, did the Army allow you to take the crayons with you?
Take the what with me?
Crayons.
The crayons, yes. I don't know what that means, but what does that mean? The crayons?
Yeah, the joke is that Marines, they're basically knuckle draggers and they eat crayons. And so when you give them to them, and if you ask any Marine, they'll tell you the red ones taste the best.
Okay, I don't know about all that, but yeah. No,
which is kind of funny because most of my Marine Corps buddies are absolutely brilliant people. And
yeah.
It's funny to laugh about that because of their follow order kind of regiment, but they're brilliant. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, well,
included mostly sometimes.
Well, yeah. So I did a lot of dumb stuff in the Marine Corps and the Army, so I wouldn't call myself smart. But
you were there in Desert Storm.
I guess it's too dumb to quit, right? You ever that terminology, right?
Yeah.
So, for sure.
I always get excited when there's someone that's on there as chronologically sophisticated as I am, that can say Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Cleanup, and as a sniper, I'm sure you had such a breadth of experience in the 2-day war.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, and and then I did two back-to-back tours in the Mediterranean, which was real nice as well. So going to Spain, France, Israel, Greece, Turkey. So there was a lot of experiences over there for sure.
Wild stuff. So I'm excited to hear your story, both joining the Marine Corps, jumping over to the Army. You and I talked a little bit about this offline, and then what happened subsequent to all of that and how those skills have transferred onward. So you joined the Marines, and I'm still shocked you haven't been called a crayon eater. So I'm glad we were able to teach you something.
I guess it was, in my time, was jarhead. So I don't know if they still got jarheads, but definitely not. I've never heard crayon eater before. So
I have to ask the question really simply: why the heck did you walk into a recruiting station?
So I guess based on my background. So I was born and raised in Southern California, where bottom third of my high school class, bottom third of the economic chain, and so college was not part of my vocabulary. And so my buddy and I were talking about what we were going to do in probably the 7th and 8th grade. So I knew I wanted to be a Marine very early on, because I knew I had a lot of leadership ability inside me. I just didn't have anybody to bring it out. Family lifestyle, dad passed away young, and mom left, that kind of thing. And so once I got there, I was an empty slate. I shot a BB gun once or twice. I shot a 22 once. And so I knew I wanted to get yelled at. I just wanted somebody to slap me around and say, hey Joe, you have something inside you to bring out. And that's what happened. So,
Joe, the one thing that you said that really kind of resonates with me, I think we talked about this last episode, was the great thing about the military is when you go there, you have an opportunity to invent the person that you were always meant to be.
100%. You're absolutely right. Because, and I've said this story, and you've probably said this story a lot. If you smoke pot before the military, there's guys in the military that smoke pot. There's the people that steal, that lie, that cheat. But they don't go in it with a pure heart. But if you do go there, it's not going to make you somebody that you're not. But if it's inside you and you want to change, if you want to be a different person, I couldn't agree with you more, Angel. I mean, and it did. And it brought me out the person that I knew I always was, for sure.
Yeah. And it gives you opportunities to explore things that weren't in front of you on your block. Like if you're like me, like what did you see? I saw retail. I saw being a police officer. I saw things that just didn't appeal to me. And just seeing other opportunities and things, like you ended up the furthest thing in the world from what you probably would have thought you would have ended up. But everything that you've done is kind of building towards the person you want to be.
It is, and I thought I was going to be a Marine for 30 years. I mean, when I joined the military, I'm like, this is it. This is my career. I'm going to do it. And, and if I said 35 years from now, I'm going to be an executive director of a senior living or of an old folks home, right? So it'd be like, you're crazy. I'm going to be a Marine. I'm going to be a decorated Marine, and that's it. But you're absolutely right. And that's how, you transition. I got in the military, and I had some great leaders, and the leadership style in the military is shut up or I'll make you do push-ups until you die. Right. It's like, I'll do, don't do or die. Right. And so that's how my leadership style started out. And so I was comfortable with it. For a while after I got into it, I just made young kids cry for years. Right. These young privates would come in and just like me, and you mold them, and what they didn't learn like you said, on the block, You got to know them and got to and motivated them up. I took that leadership style, and actually, so in college, you get those groups together, and then you got the challenger and the recorder and the presenter, and then you have that social loafer that just shows up to the meetings and doesn't do anything, but gets the A because everybody else is working. And I took that military style, and I said, you know what? And I started yelling at him, and I made the kid cry, and he was maybe 25 pounds heavier than I was, maybe an inch and a half taller than I am, but I just broke him down, just like, and I'm like, wow, I don't know that this is probably the style of leadership that I should be doing in college, right? And so I had a transition, and so you self-reflect, and then you become more participative style, and then it's like, okay, what do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? But you still have that ultimate control, right? Collaborative, right? Exactly. And then now, over this last year and a half, after 20 years of hospitality experience and having those two leadership, you start reading books on what that servant leader is. And I don't really think you can really tell yourself that you're a servant leader until you've really transitioned through a lot of different leadership styles and got to that kind of that peak, where that you start hitting that self-actualization where you know who you are and you know where you've been. And so I know I'm not suggesting that I've hit self-actualization just yet, but I know that I've just been a part of a year and a half of opening up a senior living community that's a 267,000 square feet. It's a $40 million building, and we're changing lives every single day. It's the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. And it's me not being prideful and knowing all the answers, but I hired 10 director heads, and I said, if you have hospitality in your spirit, your culture, the culture that we're going to bring is going to be the best. And it is. And it's not because of me, but it's because I'm the biggest cheerleader out there. That's it. I'm not a Marine Corps sniper. I'm not an Airborne Ranger. I'm not jumping out of airplanes. I'm not making kids cry. I'm just setting people up for success every single day. And I love it. I love it.
That's exciting. It's even more exciting because really, when we look at the marketplace, the baby boomers all shifting, that's a huge, next to weed, it's probably the biggest growth market.
It is. So I transitioned out of the country club world. You're right. But country clubs, generally speaking, are dying, right? So nobody's going to the golf course spending, and I love golf. But nobody's going to the golf course, spending 4 hours, no males coming home and saying, honey, I'm going to spend, 5 hours on Saturday and 6 hours on Sunday golfing with my buddies, and I'm going to come home hammered. They're like, hell you are, right? You're going to go to baseball games. You're going to go to lacrosse games. You're going to go, do all this other stuff. And so even spending 2 hours out there. So taking a look and stepping into what is that next wave of hospitality. And exactly right. That's what it is. That senior wave is coming, and people that have lived well and saved well are looking for places to live that last 10 or 15 years of life and not die the last 10 or 15 years of life. And that's what it is.
In the industry, trust seems like especially in that field, trust is a really, really big factor. And having that military background and having that inherent, people naturally trust you. When they say he was a Marine, they say he was a soldier, it's almost inherent that you have that, those core values, and it's understood. And where you don't have to fight, and people aren't looking you, sideways and saying, that guy is a shady SOB. And
absolutely right.
And right now, with you hear about the scams and elderly people getting taken advantage of. But more importantly, trusting that you're going to put controls into place that are going to make sure people are healthy and safe in a COVID pandemic.
100%.
What are your thoughts on that? How does that affect you as a leader?
It is, and so it's challenging every day, because that hospitality spirit in me wants to say yes and do it all, right? And throw caution to the wind. But then you have that whole department head around, or those department heads around you saying, we need to do the right thing. And so so health and safety is very, very important, and bringing people then that will guide us. When you talk about it takes a village, and it really does, because if one person goes rogue and says, well, we don't need to wear a mask, or this is not right, don't worry about that, or you can social distance is stupid, or code is a hoax, that's not where it's at, right? And so we have to come together, because it is a pain. I wear a mask all day, right? My whole team wears, my receptionist has to wear not only a mask but a face shield, and she hates it. And she's like, Joe, can I take this off? And I'm like, no, I don't want you to get COVID, and I don't want you to to spread it. So that's what we have to do. The good thing is that hopefully we're getting better. We just went through our second vaccine, and so it is exciting. The first time we all wore capes, we were superheroes, which was really cool. And the second time was Valentine's Day, the Friday before Valentine's Day, and they said, Joe, will you dress up as Cupid? And I said, absolutely. And so I wore a white tutu and I white wings and it was fun. And I had a sash that said Cupid on it. And
cheerleader number one right here.
I'm telling you right now, I'm the biggest cheerleader, and I love it. Right? I'm leading from the front, and I love it. And so you take health and safety seriously, to answer your question. But if you do it with a good spin and positive and heart, then people will follow. But it's tough. It's not easy. Not at all.
I can see where your military background would come into play, and you'd have to say, okay, now we've tried to be nice, we've tried to socialize ideas. I'm tired of listening to people complain. This is the right thing to do. We're going forward. Here it is.
Correct. That's right.
The line in the stand is right here.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right. And then and you started it from the very beginning and through the interview process, right? So, and I learned that and I'm not hard, I'm not a hard Marine, demanding their respect and then earning their respect. But they draw that line in the sand from the very beginning. It's like, look, here it is. If you want to be part of the team, if you want to change people's lives, if you want to be part of the greatest culture that's going to be created, follow Joe Conver and you will get there. And they understand what that standard is. It's not, and I've been in situations where, be soft or it's okay. And then it'll just bite you in the butt, on the back end. So yeah, you draw that line in the sand from the very beginning. I agree.
And so I got to go back to the fundamentals because people are asking me this question of join the Marines. You did that at what age?
So I barely passed high school with a D-. 1989. I was just turned 18 years old. Joined the delayed entry program 364 days before, right? Or whatever it is. I think it's not 365 days, but it's one day, after a year, part of the delayed entry program. And then 10 days after I graduated high school, I was in there, and so, you're backing up. I truly failed sophomore English twice. My teacher, my senior year, both my recruiters had to come to, true story, both my recruiters had to come down to the school and tell my counselor that I'm going to boot camp. And I said, man, I didn't show up. I had like 26 days absence, right? They were all excused because I wrote my aunt's name, right? But I didn't technically, but I barely passed. And then I went in there. And she finally, after about an hour and a half of she saying no, we two Marines and a going into a Marine Corps, we changed her mind and she passed me. I had to write an essay and I had to do a few things to solidify it, and then I went in. And like I said, I was an empty slate. I just yelled at me. And the harder they yelled at me, the stronger the harder that I was, the taller I stood, and I just give it to me, just beat me down. And they did. And I became a better person from it.
Okay. So Marine Corps for how many years? Yeah.
So 4 years. And then, so after Desert Storm, everybody, just like you said, the 2-day war, they recalled so many different people, and the replacement platoons were there. And so the Marine Corps was so oversubscribed that they were letting people out, and all my buddies were getting out and going to college. And so I thought that was the right thing to do. I'm like, well, I guess if everybody else is going out and saying, college is where it's at. And so I went to college and I hated it. I couldn't make that transition. And so I was roofing. I was doing some construction. I joined, enrolled in college, and I had to take Math 90 to go to, because Math 101 is a college algebra, and I had to take a Math 90 class just to get up to par. And so I didn't like it. And then so I walked over to the Marine Corps recruiter. I'm like, please let me back in. And you're considered prior service. So they're like, no, we're so oversubscribed, we won't back in. And then they're like, well, why don't you go to the Army? And I'm like, I'm not a soldier, I'm a Marine, right? Oh, I'm a Marine. And then month number 2, they're like, well, why don't you go over to the Army? And I'm like, not a soldier, I'm a Marine. And by the third month, it's like,
and then you're putting
all right,
right? Son of a bitch.
Damn it, and but I got to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and there was a first sergeant that had a sister that was a captain in the Marine Corps. He had he saw something in me. I was a leg. He was with the Pathfinder company. And, he said, I want you on my team. And so he recruited me, and then I got on the fast track. I went to air assault school, and then I went to airborne school, and then Pathfinder school, and then PLDC, and combat lifesaver school, ranger school, jump master school. And it was great. Everything in the Marine Corps that everybody wants to go to. The Army's like, go to this school, go to this school, go to this school. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I loved everything about it. So all my real world stuff was in the Marine Corps, and then all the fun schools that everybody wants to go to was in the Army. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. I loved it. So
that's wild. That's wild. And so I always ask this question of our guests. Can you point to a outstanding leader, mentor, or friend from your time, either Marine Corps or Army?
Yeah, Corporal Myers. I mean, everybody has that guy, right? I mean, that changed my life. He was a corporal. I was still a young 18, 19-year-old. And at that time he was probably 22, right? But I thought he was, a god. And he stood strong. He was, he knew what he wanted to do. And he pointed me in the right direction. And he helped me change from a little kid to an introductory leader. And I'll never forget,
how funny
all
is
the
it
things.
When you become a corporal and you look back, you're like, man, that dad didn't have it figured out. He was making that shit up his will.
Right. Exactly right. But when you're 17, 18 years old, you don't know that. And, between 18 and 22, I mean, that's such a huge gap. And then you're right. When you get 22, you're like, you didn't know what's going on. Right. So.
Wow. Crazy times. So great schools. You did not deploy in the Army, but for the Marine Corps, you did. And I know you and I were talking about that the other day, which is interesting. So what rank did you leave the Marine Corps? What rank did you leave the Army?
Yep. So I got made corporal in the Marine Corps after 26 months, and then got out as a corporal. And then I went into the Army as a specialist 4, which was different. But then I went through that. I went to Ranger School in PLDC, and I became a sergeant, and then went to BNOP to become a staff sergeant.
Okay.
What was the catalyst for you deciding that I don't want to do this anymore? I don't want to run and gun. I want to do other stuff.
Yeah, I was tired of sleeping outside.
I got a talk, like a self-talk, like, okay, it's time.
It is time. I was tired. I was all infantry, right? So, not necessarily my knees were getting bad, but I was tired of taking a knee. Right. I was tired of sleeping outside. I was tired of eating MREs. I was tired of saying the F word, and wearing a green suit. And then you go outside and you get hammered and you get tattoos and you go to titty bars and I'm like, you know what? I'm ready.
Yeah, man, I got you.
I mean, that was it, right? The 3 things, right? It was fun. For 8 years, it was fun. It was great. I went, but I wanted to get, so at that point, after those 8 years, it was, okay, should I stay in but I wanted to get educated, right? And that was fantastic because I'm in college again, new lease on life. I'm sitting in a earth science class, and they're talking about cumulus clouds and weather patterns, and that's where it clicked, right? So I remember being on a comm site on a hilltop with my Marine Corps guys, and watching these beautiful weather patterns, right, coming in Turkey, and I'm like, you're reading about it right now, and all these, I got a 19-year-old kid sleeping because his parents are paying for college. And I'm like, I lived it. I know what a cumulus cloud is. I didn't know what at the time, but I know what it is. And so bridging that gap between the military and academics, and I just strive from it. And I loved it because I was ready to go to college. I was ready to learn something. I was ready to grow up,
Mine was I had the same kind of light switch, and it was, I graduated 509 out of 520 in my high school class. And it was like 1 point something embarrassing. And it wasn't that I wasn't intelligent or capable. It was that I didn't do well in the learning learning environment that the traditional had set for me. And that when I figured out what I wanted to do and I decided I'm going to pursue that educationally, it was like I was like drinking. I wanted to drink more. Like, dude, I'm thirsty. I need to have this stuff. Right?
Yes.
And this is going to help me. And then you start going and you get a taste of 1 degree. Like, for me, it was an associate's, right? Okay, I got an associate. I got 1 piece of paper. And then it was a bachelor's. Then it was a master's. Then it was another master's. And I'm like, when the hell did I become an academic?
Right, exactly. And finance, I would be in school and I would have my doctorate. I loved it so much. Yeah. But, I needed to get out in the real world, and, I was married and had kids, and I got my 4-year degree. But you're right. I went in for business, and then it was financial economics. And then if you took 6 more classes, you got an accounting degree. And if you took like 6 leadership classes, you can get a minor in leadership. And I would have stayed in there. I would have loved it because I loved everything about learning. Yeah. Oh, I agree with you 100%. So congratulations on that.
How does that serve you in your current business space? Does it give you objectivity, or do you feel like you get an equal amount from education as you did from your leadership experience in the military, or do you think one is more prevalent in your current
they definitely complement each other, right? For sure. The few things like organizational management, so you learn management in the military, but then when you see it on paper on a overhead projector or PowerPoint presentation, and you're understanding what those things are, you get it, right? I mean, you put what was shoved down your throat in the military to what you see it on paper, and that was a good organization. The Excel spreadsheets, the Word documents. I took writing 101 twice because I didn't know how to write, and now I love to write. I was using big words and trying to over complicate things. And the second time I took it, like just write like you talk. And once that clicked, then I love to write, and you do well just because you're talking about it. So, so I transitioned. I think I used a lot more of my leadership and military experience in college, teaching others about leadership and stuff. But I did. And so I guess solidifying my leadership on a different level in college, where some kids were just figuring out themselves, taking my leadership to another level, understanding that college kids are a little bit more intelligent than kids just barely passing high school. So, I mean, I learned every single experience I've been in, you learn from it.
So what did you get out? Why did you choose not to stick around and continue your service?
Yeah, like I said, I was tired of humping the rucksack. I was tired of being away. I was tired of eating MREs.
Didn't you hear him? He's tired of the titty bars.
I was tired of the titty bars. Yeah.
Well, so, you could have joined the Navy and been lazy.
No, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get out and get education. Something clicked inside me that I was ready. I was ready to get out in the real world, and I felt that I had enough leadership ability, and I wanted a different experience. Because once you hit that level, once you hit that staff sergeant, then you get in that lifer mentality, which is a little bit different than the real world. And there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. I mean, there's some great men that have spent 30 years in it.
And women.
And women. Yes, sir. But it just, for me, I wanted to learn about the academics of all of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so let's talk about your post military career, which I know you and I talked about. Your military experiences influenced many of the. I know it's still very much a part of who you are.
It is, and so, but I started out as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and that's where I think my hospitality spirit came from. But a lot of it, if I'm sitting on a couch telling you, being exposed, my mom left when I was 6 months old. My dad died when I was 10. So I always had that inside me to please people, right? I'm a pleaser. And I like hospitality because, you put a great product in front of somebody and you do hard work and they say, thank you. And that drives me, right? And if I work hard and somebody says, Joe, thank you for the hard work you've done. I mean, it's my drug of choice. It really is, right? That appreciation. And so when I started as a dishwasher, my general manager taught me a lot of stuff that I took in the military. and as in the restaurant business, when you're in the back of the house, you got to make sure you're doing something coming and going, right? Don't go up full hands in, full hands out. Make sure you're covering your back, make sure you're doing not only your job, but 2 jobs ahead of you, because as a dishwasher, you never know when that cook position is gonna open up. And so I took a lot of that. And then after the military, after college, I kind of wanted to own my own restaurant. I didn't do very well. One of the 99% that failed in restaurant, trying to own a restaurant myself, right? That didn't work out. But you get kicked in the teeth and lick your wounds, and you move on, and got into hotels and then country clubs and all hospitality, and just kind of learning different experiences to actually now be on top, to be that servant leader, hiring 10 department heads, and again, changing lives.
Inspiring. Very, very inspiring. So you are out in Pennsylvania, and do you have any veterans working for you?
I do, yeah. So you mispronounced it. I'm not sharpshooting, but it's Atria Senior Living, and so they're
sniper sharpshooting,
and so they have it's called a veterans wall, and so there's 225 different communities of Atria. It's a management company that manages these high-end super senior living communities, and so part of their culture is to have a veterans wall. And so we just opened up the first week of January, so we're still recruiting the folks that are coming in. But I'm right in the center of the wall. So it's a flag encased, and then it has 2 shelves, and it says honor our heroes. And then so I'm in there, and then I've got 2 cooks, one on either side of me, that have been there. One was in the Marine Corps, and then one was in the Army. So,
wow, like you, except for
that's right.
It just took 2 people in order to do that. Unlike you.
That's right.
Well, that's awesome, my friend. It's great what you're doing. It's great the lessons they've continued to pay forward. So, when are you joining the Space Force?
The Space Force, 60 maybe. Let me give senior living about 10 years. And then I'll shoot to Mars.
You don't need to. The PT test doesn't involve any push-ups or sit-ups. You just need to play video games. Oh, perfect. I like it. I'm not very good at video games. So. Angel, you're muted, but I'm sure you're saying good things.
Lots of long division and coding.
Yikes, that's not for me.
Not me.
No. Sounds smart.
I can cook. I'll be a dishwasher in the galley. I mean, you want? I'll do that.
Listen, you probably are eating good food.
What's that?
All the cool people hanging out.
Right, exactly.
They got the best stories. Every restaurant I ever worked in, you go to where the dishwashers are, those guys have the best stories. Let me tell you what I did last week, and you're like, oh my God, I'm growing by the minute.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, Angel, I'll leave the last word over to you.
Well, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing, not just previously in your service, but as you continue to lean forward and being a great ambassador for military veterans in the corporate workforce, and to pay it forward. And I love to hear that you're not only doing what you do in the way that the military shaped you, but also not putting that stuff on a shelf and bringing it into the everyday and taking it forward to the younger people and coincidentally the older folks.
Right.
And to hear you being intentional about recruiting veterans and really inspires me. And anything we can do to help you out with that, we're always here to help you.
Appreciate that, Angel. Thank you.
Yeah, Joe, appreciate what you're doing. And find us some other awesome veterans like you doing great things. That's what the show is all about. Trying to inspire, whether somebody puts the uniform on or, people are serving in all sorts of different ways, and it's exciting to you talked about servant leadership, and that's really what it is all about. So Angel, next
people
week,
want to talk about servant leadership, and they just started the company like 2 weeks.
Right, right, exactly.
Dude, you what?
and I talked about that, right?
I know, it's so funny. I was like, oh, that's so true.
Sure, you can't just throw out the word servant. I'm a servant leader. You have to earn it, right? You have to have, a bunch of different leadership styles that you've gravitated through, right, and evolved from.
Trials and tribulations,
right? What's that?
trials and tribulations.
Absolutely. Get kicked in the teeth, get knocked down, get some bruises, some banged up knees, and then you can call yourself a servant leader. You can't be a millennial, and not that there's anything wrong with millennials, right? But a 22-year-old or 28-year-old saying, I'm a servant leader. And I don't know. Maybe you can, but
it lacks teeth.
I agree. Well,
thank you so much, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Joe, next week on episode 36 of We All Serve, so we have the retired Command Sergeant Major from the Ranger Regiment.
Wow.
So pretty exciting.
Right? 75th guy?
75th, that's right.
I'm not a 75th guy. No, so I went to Ranger school. I'm Ranger qualified, but I didn't serve in a Ranger battalion. I served in a Pathfinder company at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But Rangers lead the way, and it's not for the faint of heart, right? So for sure.
Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly. That's right.
Well, we're excited to have Mike Hall, retired CSM. He served 34 years in Army Special Operations. Retired General Stanley McChrystal said he is the best soldier he has ever known, and that is who is joining us next week on the pod. So we will be back here next Tuesday, the 9th of March. Same bad time, same bad place. So come back and check us out. Joe, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Download, share, and tell people how cool we are sometimes.
I will. I absolutely will.
Not all the time.
Absolutely. You're going to be in the top 5% by next Tuesday.
That's it. That's all we need. You can just make it mandatory that all the seniors at your facility have to download. Download, Nana. Download.
Exactly right.
For you.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Very good.